today. Let's hope that it transmits data now. That'll be step 2 here in this little fun equation. Are we transmitting data? It says health is good. It says we've been streaming. I think we might be live.
We are live. We are actually live.
Woo! Here we are, everybody. Welcome. Live before lock. Those are words we don't normally say at 11:36 a.m. Yet here we are, the real opening day of baseball season. My name is Josh Engelman. If you've never been here before, and I'm here with my co-host Emac. We are kicking off the baseball season today. Are you excited?
Yep, I absolutely am. I am thrilled. This is my favorite sport. I have now visually confirmed that we are up on YouTube, so we're good. Was a little touch and go there for a minute, but here we are. Josh, this is how you and I started out together with a baseball show.
It is, and here we are, what, 6-7 months later? Something in that neighborhood?
Feels like a lifetime. Today, I've already done, you guys can see on the homepage, there's a free Stacks Spotlight Hitter article. I've got one of the stacks in from the early slate, 2 from the main. You'll get the free basketball article that I have mostly written. I was just waiting to get some ownership percentages. We'll put that up after the show. I'm going to be doing hockey, Josh, at 4 o'clock, and I've already launched some PGA teams. Could I be doing more things today?
Too much DFS right now, I think some people might say.
I'm on a little bit of overload, but we've got baseball, my first favorite sport, the first sport I ever did with fantasy, etc. So this will be a good time.
Gonna be fun. I'm excited to talk baseball. I'm excited to talk, I guess, not basketball, which would be the best way to put it. It's gonna be hectic over the next couple of days, so just be ready for it, everybody. We've got 2 sports. Well, I mean, technically speaking, we've got 3 sports in full swing, not counting all of the ancillary stuff like golf and tennis and college basketball, MMA, whatever. So we've got we run the full gamut today.
Yeah, it's college basketball. Check out those Osmo projections. I was talking with Nolan. He said that he and Jake, and I forget who the other person was, have all taken down $1,000 wins. Nice. Just by using Alex's projections and hand building a few lineups in the $3 contests.
There you go. That's the goal, right?
Just saying.
That's the goal. So we have projections, rankings, ownership projections up at the site. If you're interested in checking us out, use the promo code LIVEBEFORELOCK. One big word. You can see it on the screen right now. You can get 50% off your first month with us. Choose any monthly package you want. All access, just baseball, just basketball. You can go either direction. They can even include Fantasy Cruncher. You get 50% off. So if you want to see all the MLB content that we're offering, come join us. Live Before Lock is the promo code. Are you ready to talk baseball?
I'm ready. I'm going to be doing some mass multi-entry while we were here. Fortunately, I've only got about $100 out there in low dollar stuff, but I got to make about 150 lineups. So yeah. I'm trying to remember the rules of how do I set stats? Why did I play this early slate, etc. But I'm in. I'm ready. This should be a good one. We have on the early slate phenomenal pitching, Josh. I mean, we're looking at a couple Cy Young winners in Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. You got Jake the Great. You've got Corey Kluber, Nola, Blake Snell, multiple Cy Young winners here. Bumgarner. It should be an intriguing one. We've got a couple people we can pick on.
We do.
Got fully loaded teams called the Philadelphia Phillies that retooled. We have crappy teams out there, teams we can pick on. And, there's some bad pitching already, which feels a little weird because Brad Keller, I would not have thought would be an opening day starter.
Yeah, the Orioles should be embarrassed for trotting out Andrew Cashner.
Well, first off, you say, thank God Alex Cobb can't make his start. Oh, no, it's Andrew Cashner that's filling in for him.
Yeah, some of this is, I mean, you've had 6 months to fix these problems. Still running out this garbage. We don't have garbage in the first game we're going to talk about. Not even remotely. This is the opposite. Mets and Nats. 3.4 run implied total for the Nats, 3.1 for the Mets. Nats have a 54% chance to win based on the Vegas odds. Jake DeGrom, Max Scherzer. This is a real battle.
This is going to be a big one. I will be watching. I am a Nationals fan, as evidenced by my many hats behind me. Look, I have so many hats. There's one beside me. So I adopted these guys when I moved out.
Many hats.
Yeah, I've indeed multiple meanings for that one.
Yeah.
But I've adopted the Nationals since I came out here, because my other team is the Mariners, who have not made the playoffs since 2001. So I can root for two teams at once.
Yeah, that team was like loaded, right?
They said, I think they had, that was the year they had like 116 wins or 117 wins. I was actually at the game where they set the whatever the record was at the time, because I always get confused now if the Moneyball Oakland team ended up passing it or not, because that Moneyball team, and then we'll get into today's slate. You've seen the movie Moneyball, right? Obviously,
I read the book. I've never seen
the book. Okay, well, they totally lay off the fact that they had Miguel Tejada and Eric Chavez and all these other guys here, like in a 20-game winner. All they focus on is Scott Hatteberg and this.
Yeah, well, Scott Hatteberg's fat and ugly.
Yeah, it's like, that's not really who made up the team. You guys had like 5 all-stars on that team. Yeah. Did they all go away? Yes. Did they get paid by other teams? You betcha. But it wasn't just duct tape and baling wire. But in any event, I've got my screens open. I've forgotten where to find stuff, Josh. That's the hard part.
I can relate to that. I can very much relate to that.
So I'm looking forward to getting this up. I bought the as I always do, FanGraphs, paid the $50 to make sure that it doesn't overheat my computer by running the fan all the time because of all their damn ads. Got that taken care of, but here we are.
So talk to me about Mets Nats. I think we're probably going to want to start on the pitching side. It's going to be really hard to think. I really love a bunch of bats here, considering we've got two of the top
5, I guess.
5, yeah. Top 5 pitchers in all of baseball. So it's not.
Here we go.
It's not lined up to be a fantastic offensive affair. Let's be clear here.
Not even close. And I don't even think I really want a sprinkling of these guys in. As we get a little deeper into the season, we remember that if you want one-offs against Scherzer, you want lefties with power, and that's really about it. He's phenomenal. He's at the top of his game, coming off, was it 3 straight Cy Youngs or 2, whatever it is. He's just been amazing. Now, going against the Mets, so my wife came in this morning and said she was up watching the news at 5:30, which I only recognize one 5:30 a day, Josh, and it's not that one. But she came in and said, "Oh, happy Scherz Day," because that's what the news here is saying for Thursday with Scherzer. But Brandon Nimmo is solid. His last, his last 2 seasons, 540 plate appearances in opposite-handed matchups. He's got a 4.05 WOBA, 233 ISO. Robbie Cano is now back in the Big Apple, no longer with the Mariners, no longer with the Yankees, but he's coming here with the Mets. He's got a 374 WOBA and a 200 ISO. Conforto, 380. 230. These are all numbers over the last 2 seasons. Those are solid, but then it falls off the table dramatically. So you've got rookie Pete Alonso, you've got Rosario and Lagares, who might as well be waving a wiffle ball bats. And then you got, revenge. Wilson Ramos with like his 4th team since he was a National. But if I was taking any of the hitters, I would do probably Conforto. But I don't think we need to go there. So I'm only looking at DraftKings right now, but I will be playing over on Yahoo. They're doing their 25% added to the kitty on Friday. And I'll probably play some more on FanDuel. I'm just not today. There's too many moving parts. Yeah. But I would only go with one pitcher here. Now, on the flip side, Scherzer, amazing. 330 xFIP, single-digit walk rate. He rarely gives up walks. It's like 6 or 7 over the last 2 years. Fly ball rate is a little higher than we'd like to see, but we're now splitting hairs. He's so damn dominant. It's not even worthwhile. So he is my number one pitcher of this slate.
He's incredible.
And it's right there with a Verlander.
He's incredible.
So who we'll get to, but your question is, you can mix and match them.
Yeah.
So we're splitting hairs here, and you can even put in Syndergaard. I'm sorry, DeGrom as well. But when it comes to Scherzer, I like them going against the pitcher. Verlander, decent park there in Tropicana Field, tons of strikeouts with that craptastic Rays lineup. So if I was on FanDuel and I had Scherzer and somebody else had Verlander, I would not be fist pumping by any stretch if I was playing a head-to-head. So
yeah, I have Verlander and Scherzer as 1-2 on FanDuel right now. It's not particularly close. I mean, Chris Sale is close, but he's not really a part of this today, so got to be weird about it. I have Verlander a little bit ahead of Scherzer. I've got him at 43 FanDuel points. I've got Scherzer at like 42.5. So we're splitting hairs, obviously. But Max Scherzer is he's fantastic. It's the Mets. There's a lot of swing and miss in that lineup, whether it's Nimmo, whether it's Conforto. We'll see how Peter Alonso looks in his debut. I probably, he projects as someone that would strike out quite a bit. I'm not entirely sure that my first at bat in the league against Max Scherzer is a place that I want to be. So, I think Scherzer racks it up here. That's the guy that I want to focus on most if I'm focusing on anything from a pitching side of this game. I'm with you. If I were looking to one-off any Mets guys, it would be some of these lefties, whether that's Nimmo leading off or Conforto in the 4-hole. On the Nats side, if Juan Soto squares something up, it's going to go a long way.
Yeah.
So I'd be more focused on, I would say, I think I'd say Soto is my favorite play from the Nats, just given the way that this game lines up, where he's hitting. But this is not a game for offense. This is a game for pitching.
Yeah, and the one other bonus you've got there with Soto and Trey Turner, if they get on, there's a decent chance they can run, just because institutionally, the Mets generally have several pitchers that are not good at holding runners, but it doesn't even seem to matter who the catchers are. They're just not that great. But if that's what we're counting on to get us points, we're already in a hole. But just saying, that's something to at least keep in mind throughout your time here as we get started. One thing I see some people in chat are asking, why is this the early slate? Well, on Yahoo and DraftKings, they're doing the 4:00 and later games. On Fantasy Draft and FanDuel, they're doing the 1:00 through the 7:00 games. So it just depends which site you're on.
Yeah.
The sites that are doing the 4:00 or later, they have some contests for these games here. Yeah. But that's just why we're kind of calling it the early and the late slate.
Yeah, these early games are very relevant for people playing on FanDuel today. Not that they're not relevant for people playing early on DK, but FanDuel locks legit in an hour and 20 minutes, 15 minutes, something along those lines. Do you have anything else you want to touch on from Mets and Nats?
No, I think that's it. Just play the pitchers.
Yes, very much so. This one's going to be a little bit different of a matchup. The Yankees are hosting the Orioles. Yankees have a 5.6 run implied total. The Orioles are at 3.0. They should be relegated. To be a 2.5 run underdog on opening day. Today's the day where it's supposed to be the best possible scenario. If this is the best that the Orioles are trotting out, get ready for a fun 162.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Masahiro Tanaka versus Andrew Kashner. The Yankees are such good plays for me on both sites that my columns aren't wide enough, and I'm getting all of the number signs because the digits on their projections are too high.
It's going to be just wild. You've got the perfect outfield. Yeah. Leading off, and Gardner, Judge, and Stanton. That Gardner gets on board. Stanton and Judge have just the massive power. Hey, Luke Voigt's healthy, at least for today. He's batting cleanup. He is. Let's see what his price is, because He is 3,500 on FanDuel, a little more expensive, 4,500 on DK. In Yahoo, he's 14, but I think he's probably a steal at that point going against Cashner. And then, I mean, Gleyber Torres batting 8th. Oh, wait, Troy Tulowitzki. I think he's hit a few home runs in his career. He's the 9 hitter.
Does he just sit in a chair to play today?
I don't know.
I didn't know that he could physically move at this point. He's got some bum feet, right?
Yeah. T-ball, I think, is what we're going to need to do with him because I do not want to play him.
Nor should you.
I mean, I didn't think he was going to play today.
I didn't think he was going to play again.
Yeah.
Like, ever.
I'm just looking at it. Oh, apparently he did have a couple home runs in
yeah. I mean, he's been, like, functionally fine. What a fall from grace.
Who is on there? Oh, DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah.
Good God. They're stacked.
Yeah. So when I opened up, I got all my data loaded last night. I finally got finished running all of my my pitching, like regression analysis and stuff to finish off my model. And on my first crunch, when I ran it and reloaded all of my data into my sheet, it was just like, oh, cool. Like everybody on the Yankees is incredible. Everybody had target score percentages higher than everyone on the Twins, except for who was hitting 8 and 9 at the time. And the guys that were hitting 8 and 9 for the Yankees in my preliminary lineup were better than everybody but Nelson Cruz. Like the whole lineup was just better than everything that the Twins had at the top. Just scary. What stands out most for you from the Yankees? Because we're clearly not playing Andrew Cashner.
I mean, I think if you're, how many people are just going to point blank stack 2 through 5 or 2 through 6, which is going to be the max on DK, and 2 through 5, which is going to be the max on FanDuel.
A lot.
The only constraint is their prices.
Yeah. They are loaded.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are just so amazing. I don't even really know how you say who's better than whom. The top 10 guys, probably the top 4 guys, all have double-digit walk rates against righties. The 2 through 6 all have 230 or higher WOBAs. That's just insane. 1 through 6 have 330 or better. 230 or better ISO, 330 or better WOBAs. I mean, this is just phenomenal. I guess Judge, Stanton, and Voit all strike out 27 to 30% of the time.
Yeah, there's some swing and miss in that Yankees.
Okay, that there we go. So that's the worst thing you're going to do. But then you remember, oh yeah, Andrew Cashner swinging strike rate over the last 2 seasons of 6.5.
I'm going to say -7.
So yeah, this is the one you want to go for. I mean, there's not a lot of analysis to do, I don't think.
No. So I have some of the projected steamer rates in my sheet right now. For everyone in the Yankees batting order today, the lowest weighted runs created plus, so this is a metric with 100 as average. The lowest in this lineup is Brett Gardner leading off with 97. This entire lineup is at a minimum a league average hitter.
Wow.
There's no holes. What do you do? What do you do when you battle Gary Sanchez and you get him out and all of a sudden Greg Bird's there and it's like, oh cool, he's gonna plant this in the right field upper deck. And then we've got Gleyber Torres, who I felt like every time they hit him 9th last year
was a home run.
Yep. It just never stopped. It never stopped. Would you say the Yankees are your favorite stack? Just independent of everything? Like everybody's on the same page here, right? This is the creme de la creme.
I think this is the one in the article. I mean, I don't mind the Phillies.
Sure.
And what we're doing there is we're looking for a little bit of a curve against the gaudy numbers that we see here. And we're also probably getting a better pitcher than people that are going to max out the Yankees.
Yeah.
So this is baseball. Weird stuff happens. Even Mike Trout goes 0 for 4. Um, so I wanted to point out picking on Julio Teheran, which we'll get to. But yeah, going against Cashner, who's fondly known as Trashner for the last couple of years, is one way to do it. One of the semi-infuriating things about him, it seems like he never fully gets blown up because he lucks out with some double plays or just whatever. But this has got to be the worst possible matchup designed in it for him.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's really.
You or I could be. You and I could both be in this lineup, and the Yankees would still be 2-1 favorites.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be close.
It's just, I'm in awe looking at this lineup. All right, let's look to Baltimore. Yeesh.
So I'm not like the biggest Tanaka fan in the world. I don't. He's not someone that I'm super worried about having today, at least not on FanDuel. He's a guy like on opening day where you're basically getting all of the good pitchers. He doesn't grade out as well to me, but he ends up being like a relatively top flight guy once the season gets going. Clearly the Orioles are going to be a fantastic matchup, whether it's VR, Mancini. I mean, Chris Davis has been the worst baseball player over the past year and a half, and not close. And he's still going to make like $100 and something million for the next couple of years.
The deal with the devil expired as soon as that pen stroked that contract.
Yeah, there's a lot of swing and miss here. So I can see getting to some Tanaka, but I won't have a lot of volume. When it comes to bats from the Orioles, I can't anticipate having much here. 3-run implied total, second lowest on the entire slate. Any Orioles catching your eye?
The only two of note, one thing that we know is that Tanaka does tend to have a little bit of trouble with same-handed hitters that have power. So that means Trey Mancini, who is batting fourth, is not the worst one-off we've ever had. And then the other guy that I'm a little bit intrigued by is I was going to say Dennis Smith Jr., Dwight Smith Jr., who's formerly of the Blue Jays system. So he's intriguing. Long term, today is marginal, but long term, I think looking to Cedric Mullins, who's going to be wildly cheap. And I don't mind him as a punt, leading off 3,400 on DK, 25 on FanDuel, 69 on. Oh, nice. 69 on Fantasy Draft. They caught me off guard. I had to jump on that grenade for everybody. But those would be the guys I would look at as cheapy type one-offs.
Okay.
But I don't even sometimes we'll talk about contrarian plays and stacks and hedges, and especially on opening day when in theory you have a ton of the aces going, unless you're, Andrew Kashner, you find it's harder to find a bunch of spots to pick on. If you wanted to go that route, this would not be a stack against Tanaka because the bullpen's just too damn good. But if you ended up with one or two of the top 4 hitters here for Baltimore going throughout your lineups, if you're doing mass multi-entry, I wouldn't stop it from happening.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a lot grading out all that well for me from Baltimore. Yeah. Trey Mancini, the only guy with an above average weighted runs created plus from Baltimore. So no one has a projected ISO above 200. Meanwhile, the Yankees have 5 in their lineup, including Stanton being north of 300. Dude's got light tower power. I don't have anything else to say. Feel free to stack up the Yanks. They have unrivaled upside in their bats, in my opinion. And they play probably the worst pitcher of the slate. Can't get a much. This is the best way you start your season if you're the Yankees. It should really get your feet wet. While you're here, everybody, don't be afraid to hit the like button. We've got 687 of you right now at noon on opening day. So we really appreciate you being here. If you can give us a like, that would be very helpful for us. Would you like to hit the next game, Emac?
Absolutely.
Alrighty.
Absolutely. I'm assuming we're going to talking about Yolis Chassin and Is it who's going? Not Freddie.
Miles Michaelis.
Oh, yes.
4.4 run implied total for the Brew Crew, 4.1 for the Cardinals. 52% chance to win for Milwaukee. We've got Chassin versus Michaelis on the hill. Neither guy terribly appealing to me. Michaelis was a guy that I ended up on a lot last year. Don't see today as that sort of day. Similar story for Chassin. This game kind of just exists to me. I clearly like Carpenter and Goldschmidt at the top of the Cards lineup. I like a 1-2-3-4 stack from the Cards. On the Brewers side, I mean, Yelich is the clear positive piece here. Lefty-righty matchup, hitting in the 2-hole. This feels like a game where I have little bits of everything, but no cumulative effect of anything specific outside of the real high-end bats like Yelich, Carpenter, and Goldschmidt, and Ozuna.
Yep, I would agree with that. I mean, just this is going to be a relatively easy one. So if you look at Miles, also fondly known as the Lizard King, he came back to the majors last year after 2 or 3 years in Japan. He also earned the nickname the Lizard King. I thought he was like going to be like he's a fan of the Doors. He's in some sort of Doors cover band. No, it was back in the Arizona Fall League in 2010 or 11. On a dare, he ate a live lizard that was running around the clubhouse. There you go, the Lizard King. So,
yeah,
I'm crazy.
I've eaten some goldfish in my life. I don't.
Pepperidge Farm, me too.
No, nope. Like in a bowl after you throw a ping pong ball on top of it. I ate them at a carnival.
Oh boy, what did the girl say? Did you get her number?
So this has happened twice in my life.
Oh my god! Let alone once. It's now.
The first time that it happened, I want to say that I was like 11, maybe 12. I was definitely like a child. This was not to impress a girl. This was just to impress my friends. They were going to give me $5 to do it. I had an adult woman, like someone that I would consider to be a mother figure in that time. I don't know who she was. Complete stranger, but like mom age. Came up and gave me $10 and told me to never do it again.
Did you find her after you did it again and give her the $10?
I did not. Now, the second time that it happened was in high school. I was a senior. No one prompted me. I just gobbled up that fish in front of a group of people just to do it. Sober in both of those stories, by the way.
Oh boy, the story gets worse the more I hear it, the more I learn.
Do you expect to have a lot of stacks of either the Brewers or the Cardinals, or exposure to Chassin or Michaelis?
I don't mind Chassin a little bit here. He does a lot better against righties. He actually is pretty good against righties. Last 750 he's faced, he's got a 260 WOBA, a 100 isolated power. Lefties, he's adequate against them, not spectacular, but they can give him a little bit of trouble. Not Julio Teheran trouble, not Andrew Cashner trouble, but then give him a little bit of trouble. Now we've got to worry about Carpenter, switch hitting Dexter Fowler, and Colton Wong. That's the one thing that, for whatever reason, the last 3 years the Cardinals organization just runs heavy righty lineups, which is crazy to me that they just haven't gotten another switch hitter or another lefty. Clearly, they didn't address that this year because Goldschmidt, while awesome, is still a righty. Now, Goldschmidt is phenomenal against righties. He's just a great all-around guy, all-around player. But so from that perspective, if I'm getting Chassin as an SP2, I'm not going to hate it. I don't think I'd play more than 20 or 30%. But if we want these bats, we're going to have some of these pitchers as our SP2s. And he would be the one where I wouldn't be overly terrified of at this game. Could it go sideways? Yeah, Milwaukee Miller Park is an above average hitter park, and we know that the Redbirds just have an endless supply of hitters. I mean, for the love of Pete, Bader is batting 9th.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, Harrison Bader is
he came close to 20 home runs last year, I think, in his limited time.
Yeah, we're getting so many lineups. I'm not used to this.
Yeah,
it's been so long. I'm not used to like having to update things when lineups come out. I need to retrain the brain. How long does it take you to like get yourself recalibrated?
I will be coming out of next weekend. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say a week or two is usually about what I need.
I've done baseball so many times. It'll come back quick. It's just today. It's like you're just. I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm just trying to remember how to do Cruncher right now, which is.
I hear you. I'm running some crunches as we speak.
So this is actually a helpful one for those watching. So I want to do stacks.
Yeah.
So I went over to the team stack tab, and it looks familiar. I remember it from last year. I'm on DraftKings, so I'm unclicking the count pitcher as part of a stack. I'm saying for my first stacks, I want 4 players. It has to add up to 100 or it'll freeze, right? Or pardon me, it has to at least exceed 100 for your exposure to your teams.
That sounds right to me. I've never thought about it because I've never not had it. So,
well, because the thing is, if you were to make 2 columns of 4 stacks, it's going to give you 4 stacks. And if like today, there's 10 teams on the early slate. If you had each of them for 9%, it couldn't create under any circumstances.
Yeah. So the first thing that you want to do basically is figure out how big the slate is. So let's say for FanDuel right now, it's 14 games. So there's 28 teams. So 1 divided by 28 is basically 3.6. You need, that's the lowest you want to go on one of those, 3.6. Otherwise, if you don't go enough, you're not going to get the full allotment of lineups because you're not going to add up to 100%. So yeah, I see what you're saying now.
Right. So that's where, and it's not as big of a deal if you do the first format, but if you do a second stack and say, okay, I want to run some other stacks, maybe you make that a 3-man. All of a sudden you're like, wow, what's happening with the Yankees? Where are my individual player caps at? What's happening? Am I getting enough Phillies? Why are these Mets showing up against Scherzer? So you can get some unintended consequences if you're not paying attention. So.
Yeah. And the question that you should always be asking is, why are these Mets showing up? Because nobody likes the Mets.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Celia, I hope you're watching. Josh said it, not me.
I've hated the Mets forever, so I feel pretty comfortable in that. As I'm decked out in my Phil Niekro Braves jersey, my Braves hat, and then I'll probably watch 6 innings worth of the Braves this year. I'm going to end up with...
Milwaukee's decent, though, just to hit them. Shaw, I think, is good. Yelich, of course, is solid. You mentioned him. This is where I got to remember all the Juans. Jose's. Jesus Aguilar is phenomenal against fellow righties. I mean, he had 260 WOBA. 360. I've got everything backwards now because my columns are backwards from where they usually are. Josh, that's probably not a good idea because I always had WOBA first and then ISO second, but I've changed it this year because I want to focus more on ISO, but that's not how I read them. So 360 and 260 appropriately for Jesus. Let's not forget that Mike Moustakas, this is an embarrassment of riches here. Oh yeah, Yasmani Grandal batting 8th. Here was a guy who was batting cleanup 2 years ago for the Dodgers.
Yeah. So
they run pretty deep. It's more or less the but St. Louis, not afraid to use their bullpen. They won't be afraid to pull Michaelis early if he gets in trouble, which, again, that's what we want to think about of capping the upside sometimes for your hitters. But I do like Milwaukee.
Okay. They're not coming up a lot for me. They are a team that is showing up in my stacks list, so they're not getting fully whitewashed here. I have a lot more of St. Louis than I do of Milwaukee. St. Louis right now, my number 6 stack on FanDuel. I am not running crunches on DraftKings today because, if I'm being perfectly honest, people, I can't manage it all in my brain. I don't have it all in me for FanDuel and DK and 2 sports today. So FanDuel is my focus from a baseball perspective. Cardinals coming in as my number 6 stack. We have not the Yankees are flip-flopping in between 1 and 2 with the Phillies as of right now.
All right, I'm getting myself to a spot where I can run some stacks here, and I'm just doing DK only for the same reasons you expressed.
Perfect. Getting everything.
Do you on DK? Did you usually run 4 threes?
Depends on the day. Sometimes I would just do like a split 150 of like 5 2-1s.
Okay.
And then what could be 4 threes. I never really like it. I use a lot of like hot hand in my brain for when I change up my stacks. If it's not going well for a couple of days, I flip flop it and stuff. But it's always some sort of 5-2-1, 5-3, 4-4 combo. Like it's never anything weirder than that.
Yeah, and I was just more generally I would do 4-3, but I would also limit the size of my teams. This is the first time I'm really leaning on using the team stacking page because I didn't quite understand how it worked before. But now that I do and used it towards the last six weeks of last season, I'm going to that. But my brain's thinking of it as a different way. Here, I used to set up groups or just isolate certain games that I wanted. So,
okay.
Anyway,
let's move on to Bryce Harper's home. The Philadelphia Phillies hosting the Atlanta Braves. Whoa, what? Get that Braves logo on the screen quick. Put myself up there. 4.6 run implied total for the Phillies, 3.4 for the Braves. I'm happy that I said run and not points, so that's good. Getting that basketball frame of mind. 63% chance to win for the Phillies. The Braves would have a much better shot here if they were actually trotting out a pitcher that was good, and if the Phillies weren't. But Aaron Nola, I'm a big fan of. I don't get the sense that I'd have a ton of him today just because of all of the high-end aces that are out there, but he is significantly better than my boy Julio. I am not a fan of his. This is not going to be a great opening day for the Braves, in my opinion. Not starting off the season as well as I would like. How do you feel about this Phillies-Braves game?
Love the Phillies. They were the featured team in the quote early slate for my stacks here. By the way, this will be fun. My crunch, I didn't limit pitchers. It's got 150 lineups, 100% Scherzer.
Yeah, I mean I was getting a lot. Well, I was getting a lot of both he and Verlander last night in my preliminary crunches.
Yeah. So just for perspective, it's right now is 100% Scherzer, 70%, 60% Tanaka, 40% DeGrom. So I'm going to have to do some tweaking here because I don't have the big hitters that I want. Yeah. I forgot about that aspect. But back to the task at hand here. We've got 4 new Phillies with Andrew McCutchen, Gene Segura, JT Realmuto, and 2015 MVP Bryce Harper. And they're going to be amazing in this ballpark. Depending on who you want to argue with, Philly is a hitter's park or it's not a hitter's park, but it's better for home runs. And it's just, trust me, the offenses do better in Citizens Bank Ballpark. Teheran has had a lot of trouble with lefties in his last 800 that he's faced. He's allowing a 360 WOBA and a 190 ISO, the 37% hard hit rate, 40% fly ball rate, almost a 15% walk rate, which is nearly as high as his 70% strikeout rate. Those are all not good numbers. Those are numbers that are borderline you want to get from your hitters going against a particular pitcher if they have that kind of platoon split, let alone having it go from Teheran. So Harper is the clear number 1. You'll hear some BVP comments about him today, but I do want to point out that he is 18 of 40 with 8 home runs. 3 doubles, 11 walks, and 5 strikeouts. That, my friends, is BVP. Or wait for it, it's an amazing lefty going against a guy who can't keep lefties off the base path. But in any event, Harper is probably one of the best plays out there. Rhys Hoskin, phenomenal against same-handed pitching, nearly a 400 WOBA and 300 ISO over the last 2 seasons. JT Realmuto is solid against same-handed pitching. So, I don't hate him. I don't know that we're going to be targeting to spend up on catchers today, but he's a decent guy. And then, we didn't even mention other guys with the platoon splits like Cesar Hernandez and Odubel Herrera. So I think targeting against Teheran is a good thing. Yeah. We've done it a lot before. He has the misfortune, not today, but the misfortune of playing in SunTrust SunTrust Field or SunTrust Park, the new stadium down there in Georgia. And that started out, at least, it tempered itself a little bit, but it started out as being very lefty friendly from a hitting perspective. So that's just a double whammy for him.
Yeah. Bryce Harper is my number 2 hitter today. So
who's number 1? Judge?
No, and that's probably a common answer a lot. I am like, and this makes me really uncomfortable because just as much as I hate the Phillies, I share the same sort of feeling for the Yankees. There's just like a natural distaste that lives inside my gut permanently, no matter the season. So, Dad, in case you're listening to this, I hope the Yankees go 0-162.
Oh no, is he a Yankee fan?
He is. He is a very much a Yankees fan. So he and I would get into it. Those mid '90s World Series were tenuous at my house when I was a 12-year-old. But yes, my dad is a Yankees fan, so I like talking a lot of smack. But I am probably the biggest Giancarlo Stanton DFS player in the universe. He is pretty permanently my number one guy. So shout out to Steamer Projections for that one. But Harper coming in number 2 for me. I have the Phillies and the Yankees as a virtual tie as my top stacks. And when that happens, Harper and Stanton are key beneficiaries here. So I love the Phillies as a DFS stack today. I hate them in every other form and fashion. Are there any one-off bats from the Braves that you would look to grab here against Nola?
No.
Agreed.
I mean, I don't care if I get Freddie Freeman, Acuna.
Sure.
Donaldson, we like him against lefties, but he's finally healthy. He's okay. But I'm not even going close to them, and I didn't even pick them as a team to allow to stack today.
In 200 lineups that I crunched on FanDuel, I did not get a 4-man Brave stack. No.
Let me look.
Do you have interest in Nola?
Oh, hang on. What's the best site? What's the best way to see how your stacks turned out? Oh, there it is. Team stacks. I got no 4-mans or 3-mans of Atlanta.
Yeah, and that's probably how it should be. It's not an advantageous matchup. From a pitching perspective, I'm also not really getting to Nola. And by not really, I mean not at all. So this game is just about the Philly bats.
I'm just coming over here. Nola is on 28% of my lineups. Now, I'm going to change this around a little bit, but what I did is I capped Scherzer, DeGrom, and Tanaka at 50% each just because I wanted to see who would pop up next.
Sure.
And it's Nola at 28. Now, this is, again, 2-pitcher side. Chacin at 16, and then a literal 6% combined for Jordan Zimmerman and Marcus Stroman.
Okay.
So I don't think on the 2-pitcher sites, I don't hate getting that kind of Nola.
Right.
And the main reason I'm saying that is I haven't, I got to step back into this and remember proportionally where you want things. This is just the 5-game slate on DK. It's not the worst thing in the world to have a pitcher with the upside of Aaron Nola.
No, not at all.
In this one, but tougher ballpark, and he's going against a team that, let's see, what's those projected starting lineup has a strikeout rate of 8 or 19% combined for both sides of the plate. So it's not an awesome matchup, but Aaron Nola is a phenomenal pitcher. The other thing you want to remember is how long are your pitchers going to go today? Probably 6 or 7 innings would be a reasonable baseline for the top end guys like DeGrom, Scherzer, Tanaka, and Nola.
Yeah, unless they're in a full-on battle. Today's just not that kind of day. You don't.
Well, remember Nola got pulled after 65 pitches or whatever an opening day by
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Why am I forgetting who's the chucklehead that runs?
And he's had a quick hook a lot. So.
Yeah, the second start I know they pulled him after 80 pitches.
I almost said Charlie Manuel.
It's a former Gabe Kapler. I was thinking it's a former Texas player. I think he played for Texas anyway. But
I talked to Charlie Manuel in the security line of an airport once.
Really?
Yeah, he and I were just like two people separated. But when we got to the place where you turn the corner and keep walking down again, it was just he and I were shoulder to shoulder. I was like, "Hey, go Braves!" He was really nice. Met Dusty Baker last year too. That one was that one was super weird. We were both waiting for our cars outside of a hotel in San Francisco. I just nodded at him. What do you say to Dusty Baker? Oh, you're a great manager. I loved when you played for the Braves in 1964. What do you like? I can't I can't strike up a conversation with Dusty Baker and be like, I'm a really big fan of your managing strategies. But it was just like, holy shit, that's Dusty Baker. My wife was like, who? I was like, it's just, he's a legendary baseball player and manager.
That's good. Mine at Dulles was Colin Powell.
Oh, okay.
He was like 3 in front of me, and this was like 12 years ago. And he was going through with a couple of his staff members. I think he had retired from the military at this point and was serving in some sort of advisory capacity for something. But he, the TSA ladies were hugging him and stuff, and it was pretty funny. And they sent someone with him back around because they had a whole bag of the 331 stuff, the liquids and things.
Yeah.
And I had been standing there, and this guy who looked like just a ex-vet burnout military biker guy with big old beard and jacket. He kind of leans over to me and goes, "Man, if they're turning back someone with him, I don't have a chance." But he goes, "Yeah, this guy in front of me was former military from Vietnam." So okay. I was just laughing, but he looked like a guy who'd lived in the woods for a while. He was funny, but yeah, that's funny.
Before we finish off these the Phillies game, I just wanted to point out we do have ownership projections at awesemo.com. And a little sneak behind the curtain on DraftKings, the highest exposed hitter right now, Mike Trout. On FanDuel, the highest exposed hitter, Brett Gardner. Caught me off guard a little bit. Bryce Harper coming in right now on FanDuel at 11%. On DraftKings, Harper is coming in at... Probably want to go ahead and switch to early slate. That way I can actually look at the DraftKings ones. I was like, he's not even there. I find it hard to believe that Harper's going unowned. Harper coming in 14% for the early on DK if you're interested. And you can get those ownership projections or regular projections, Alex's rankings. It's all coming from the boss man himself, Awesemo. So if you are interested, sign up with the promo code live before lock. One big word. Moving on. Alrighty. The Blue Jays. I don't know why I'm typing it in all caps. I feel like my dad on a computer. Taking on.
I hope you cut these and send them to him.
I should. Blue Jays and Tigers. 4.7 run implied total for the Jays. 4.1 for the Tigers. It's a 57% chance to win for the Jays. Marcus Stroman taking on Jordan Zimmerman. I don't think that either of us are terribly enamored with the pitching in this one, or at least I am not. On the FanDuel side, however, at least from a hitting perspective, I think there's going to be some Toronto Blue Jays in my life, and maybe a little bit more than a little bit. I have the Blue Jays as my number 3 stack as of right now. How do you feel about the Jays?
Oh boy, I just ran another one here and upped my pitching to 55 for the top 3 guys. And I've got a 40%, 4 stacks, 1%, but my only 5 stack is the Blue Jays. And then I've got 21% 3-man stack.
Okay.
So I'm cruising up and down the lineup here with a lot of Blue Jays, it looks like. And I'm getting a lot of Detroit on the other side.
Interesting. Tigers, not a team showing up for me. I do not have them as a 4-man stack, but the Jays are number 3. Just looking at it, I mean, I'm not a big Jordan Zimmerman fan. He's really just not a great baseball player any longer. And it's not as if the Jays lineup is particularly exciting. I'm a big fan of their pricing. Randall Grichuk and Smoke are the 2 guys carrying the most weight for me. A little bit of Teoscar, but I'm kind of just all over this team in general, and it's more of a play against Jordan Zimmerman than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Zimmerman, he got a little bit better last year. And so for perspective, I'm a Jordan Zimmerman fan. He was with the Nationals for a long time. He's one of those, yeah, I don't mind him pitching for my team. He was at the time probably their number 2 guy. He had a no-hitter to his credit. He was a good real life pitcher. He's not a DFS pitcher. He doesn't get strikeouts, which is the currency of the realm, as I like to say here in daily fantasy baseball. The problem he also has is he gives up a boatload of power now to both sides of the plates. That is a huge problem. The only redeeming thing that he had is he got a little better with, I want to say it was his changeup, and stymied a few teams here and there, just kind of randomly, because we had him. Our brains was saying no strikeouts, not going to get enough innings, and he's going to put 2 base runners on every inning. This is a mess. I don't want any part of it. And then he had like a stretch last season where he had 6 good starts out of 8. Not great starts, but for him at the prices he was at as an SB2, you're like, well, wait, where did this come from? And Adam and Lofty, who love to break down the pitching, and for those of you guys who are new here, you're going to love the daily fantasy strategy shows. Those guys go so in depth. They crawl in and out of pitch type and hard hit. Not just Josh and I look at high level numbers, and I've been doing this like so long. I kind of have a weird sense about the things in my head just because I've seen it for 30 years, because this is year 30 for me for fantasy sports. But those guys get into phenomenal deep stuff that I don't even look at. Pitch movement, break. Does it break to the batter? Does it break opposite? I mean, just all kinds of stuff. They're crawling around Baseball Savant and Brooks Baseball, and like Fangraphs is barely scratching the surface for them, which is just, it's amazing. So Josh and I, we'll stay in our lane. We can do this. We can tell you how to do it. We can tell you how to do it and survive the variance and do well. They're going to give you that extra edge that I don't really think anybody else out there has. There are 2 guys that I hold in the same class as Adam out there that work for other sites, but it's a short list.
Yeah.
And then there's the next good guys. Then there's us, and then there's everybody else way the hell down there.
Yeah.
So there's a selling point. I would.
Yeah, we will be doing a lot of digging.
I would pay for Adam's content in any sport that he does. Yep. I don't throw that around lightly either. So.
I totally agree with you. I could not agree more. Are you getting to Tigers with any sort of anything other than basically Castellanos or Miggy? This doesn't feel particularly appealing.
20% of my 4-man stacks are Tigers.
Really?
It looks like Candelario, Harrison, Goodrum, and Cabrera. And the reason it's happening is on DK, they're all sub 4K, and it's because that particular lineup I'm looking at, just to get my percentages off of, has Scherzer and DeGrom. So
yeah, that'll do it.
I also have 11% Philadelphia 4-man stacks, which I think is a problem. So now I'm going to go in and readjust, because that is the price of having, oh my God, look at these aces I have. Yeah, I don't have any Phillies hitters. This is something I need to address now. But they're coming in nicely. They get the little bit of the boost because they're all sub 4K, and they have those guys are all top 5 in the order. And that's just stuff that's going to push them up the projections a little bit. If you look at Stroman, he generally pitches better than expected because he has such a high ground ball rate. Generally, he's one of the top of guys who are regular starters and start 20 games a year. He's usually in the top 10 every year for having the highest ground ball percentage, which is a fantastic way to go. So that's where it gets a little tough when you're doing stacking going against a ground ball pitcher. What does a ground ball pitcher get? A lot of not just ground balls, but double plays. Yep. And those kill your rally stacks. So food for thought there. But at those price points, I don't hate it.
No. See how much I got of 3-mans here. We're getting close to we're getting close. A little over a half hour until we lock on FanDuel. We are not exactly moving through this slate as quickly as I would have expected, but it has been a while since we've talked baseball. On the Tigers side, I have nothing in a 4-man Nothing in a 3-man. I am just not there on FanDuel. It's all Blue Jays for me. It's all Blue Jays.
I'm capping it again so I can force in. Okay, here we go. Now I'm getting some more Yankees. Still not getting. All right, I'm gonna tamp down my pitchers to get me some bats. This is fun. This is like being in the laboratory, if you will.
Yeah, it's so different than NBA. It's nice to like mix up the brain usage, I guess.
And that's one of the things I think is hard. And you'll see on a lot of our shows, we'll spend most of the time talking about 2 pitchers because literally every site except for FanDuel is a 2-pitcher site. Yeah. So your overarching rule at FanDuel is find the best pitcher you can and then do 2 4-man stacks, because the way they set up their runs and RBIs, it lends itself to you have to stack over there pretty much. Yep. So I'm not as big a fan of stacking like that, especially back when I was doing a lot of the hand building stuff. So I don't like just one pitcher because I think it's more fun to have 2 pitchers. So I'll play there on the shorter slates and do some different things on FanDuel from time to time. But I'm mostly going to play the 2-pitcher sites. Yahoo, I'll max those bad boys out on Friday. Last year they had what they called Free Money Friday, and that was them calling it before they were even adding the guaranteed overlay. But they would run $50,000 contest, $5,000 to first, $10 to get in, 10 entry max. That was it. I think they started out with it being like a $5 max or $5 thing, and it slowly crept up towards the end of the season as people got baseball or football on the mind. But I took down one of those for $5,000 last year. So that was like, wow. And you don't have to stack as much over there. And pitching is completely absurd and on its head for how the pricing works. So you have to get into it. So don't try to go to too many places today. It's going to be frustrating, especially because, I mean, this is my 9th year of DFS baseball. And I'm still sitting here going, wait, how do I do that again? How do I wait, what is this? So that's why I don't have a ton of money behind it. If I light my $150 on fire this morning, I'll be fine. Now I'm playing twice that this afternoon, but it is what it is. So perspective. This one.
Let's talk Rays and Astros.
Oh, so that was our last game of the first.
Okay. That was our last game of the early stuff.
Perfect. Well, I wanted us to get kind of in depth on that because we have the deep dive out there and
yeah. Do you want to touch on anything a little bit more holistically for the early?
No, I think that covers most of it. Just be smart with your bankroll. Oh, I was looking at weather. There was 2 weather spots. Oakland.
Yeah.
That's later tonight or later this afternoon, I should say. That'll be, I think that's a 4:00 game, so that'll be about 1:00 their time.
Yep.
I haven't really looked at the radar or anything yet, but generally when it rains there, it rains in the morning or at night, not in the afternoon, unless there's a huge storm. And I'm just seeing the report saying that there's potential showers in the area. So I don't think there would be a delay. So I'm not going to worry about that. And probably we may look at Trevor Cahill as a pitcher, but otherwise, we're going for bats. And then the other one that's more concerning is Kansas City.
Yeah.
So if you guys will remember, we had Kansas City with snow when they were playing the Angels in, what was it, April last year or whatever it was. There was literal snow in the air. It was all. They also had a game where it was 110 degrees on the field. They also have games that have tornado warnings. Kansas City, little dicey. Most of the Midwest, little dicey. Today, we're lucking out. We don't have a lot to worry about, but you're going to get the rainstorms up and down the East Coast. That's going to, put 5 of the 8 games in jeopardy, and the ones that aren't in jeopardy are in domes in Tampa Bay and wherever. So just be careful. We're lucking out today, but that's the first thing that's going to bite everybody in the ass. Is the first big rain day we have.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's not fun. You get used to not having to worry about weather in the NBA, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, it's raining 2,000 miles from my house. I got to pay attention to that.
Yep.
Now for the 4:00 games, we'll go through these a little bit quicker. I wanted to focus a little bit more on the early. Moving forward, particularly once the NBA regular season ends, we'll have MLB strategy shows in the morning that mirror sort of the way that the NBA content comes out. hour and a half, depending on if it's me and Laffy, like 4.5 hours. Just doing a really deep look into each team and sort of the way that we'll stack. For now, with balancing all of the content, we are going through it a little bit quicker than we normally would, just trying to hit on the overarching stuff. But there's just there's a lot of moving parts and not enough time to get to it all. So if you're looking for anything specific, feel free to shoot us an email, support@awesemo.com, or hit us up on Twitter. Hit me up individually on Twitter. Hit us up in Slack if you're a premium sub. If there are things you want to see, things you have questions about, things you'd like to see us do more, we're always looking for some additional stuff to do for the viewers.
Well said.
All right, Rays and Astros. This is 3.2 run implied total for the Rays, 3.5 for the Astros. The 54% chance to win for the Stros. Blake Snell versus Justin Verlander. I mentioned it right at the beginning of the show, but I will say it again. Justin Verlander is my favorite pitcher on the entire slate. Doesn't matter which site, Verlander is the guy that I like the most. I'd like to know how you feel about Verlander and how do you feel about Blake Snell?
I think Verlander is amazing. I think he has one of the best matchups here because the potential to get a win is rather high in this one. Now let's talk about wins for a second. Just because it's high like this doesn't mean he's going to get it. And that's something I think a lot of people don't realize. The average major league pitcher that makes a start gets a win about 33 to 35% of the time.
Yep.
The average starter. Well, why is that? Well, there's 2 starters in each game, and then there's this thing called the bullpen. So there's 1 win to go to those 4 different groups or 3 different groups. So even though you have a slam dunk opportunity here, I mean, how many times do we see Yu Darvish with a minus 300 to win against Houston, and he lost? And that was when it was the shitty Houston team. It happened 2 or 3 different times. Clayton Kershaw, another guy it happens to from time to time. So if it's going to happen to those guys at the top of their game, it can happen to anybody. We don't have 20-game winners anymore. So the win is a nice to have. When you hear people say, I don't want to play my pitchers against each other, it's lessening my upside. Yeah, it's lessening your upside, but they only have about a 45% chance to get the win between them.
Right.
So, are you going to tell me you can get 2 pitchers that are both going to get a win? Yeah. No, not going to happen very often. So those are some of the things you want to think about. There's going to be some split slates. So this is the last holistic thing. It's okay on the 3-game, 2-game, 4-game slates to play a batter against your pitcher. It's totally fine. It's okay to play 2 if you've got on a 2-pitcher side because you're going to have to play them against somebody. And if it's a short slate, it's going to be probably your guys. If you get up to 3, you should really think about the pitcher you're using. That I will say from that standpoint. But remember, is your guy going to pitch a no-hitter? Probably not. Is he going to give a home run up or maybe 2? Well, even if you're Max Scherzer, yeah. Well, who's that going to happen to? The best player on the other side. So if he's the one that ends up in your lineup to make it work, don't get mad about it. It's baseball. Weird shit happens.
I'm getting yelled at about playing Verlander.
That we should or should not.
There goes Josh, always picking the most expensive pitcher on the board again. I'm only playing on FanDuel. I only get 1, and, well, he's the best one of them.
If I was on FanDuel, I would do everything I could to get him in my lineup.
Right, yeah, it's him and Scherzer for me.
There's no fight in it. And again, what we were saying is doing FanDuel, you get the quality start.
Yeah.
You don't get that on the other sides. Well, there's a pretty good chance Verlander's going to get a quality start today. He may not get the win. The bullpen may blow it. He may leave the game and it's tied. But 6 innings with 3 or less earned runs, yeah, pretty sure that's in play today for Verlander.
Not to mention, and I think this is a really key piece to it all, if everybody is going, if we're not expecting everybody to be going deep, then I want the guys that are the best and most efficient pitchers that I can get my hands on. I want Justin Verlander on a day like today. If everybody's not going deep, he can still mow people down in 6. So, yeah, I can't imagine not wanting to go to Verlander on FanDuel for this one. As for bats,
I can't wait till they get to hear Adam and Lofty, and to a lesser extent myself, and also Jake, and then you dabble in it from time to time, talking about the weird ass cheap SP2s that we're rolling out there that are dumpster fires. But if you find them in the right spot, it can work out for you. Not everybody. Most people are aces today. We have a luxury. These are going to be diffused and spread out within 2 weeks, and we're going to be saying, shit, I remember when we had all the aces on that one slate.
Do you care about the bats at all? Because I don't really need anything from a stack perspective in this game.
No, not at all. Because I mean, you've got not even one-offs really. If I get some, I get some. Yay! There's a few more games on this slate than there is the other one, and these guys are former Cy Young winners, and Blake Snell's the reigning Cy Young winner. Come on, no.
Sean V. Rays win, so there go the win points for Verlander. Yeah, they go right out the window with JJ Redick's points from 2 nights ago. Alrighty, Rangers hosting the Cubs. Cubs have a 4.9 run implied total. Rangers 4.6. Cubs 53% chance to win here. Mike Minor going for Texas. John Lester going for Chicago. This is not quite a great pitching matchup anymore. John Lester, not the same John Lester. Mike Minor, just I'm not a fan in general, particularly when people are playing in Texas. So I have absolutely no interest in the pitching in this game. Cubs, my number 4 stack as of right now. Rangers coming in about 7 or 8. So I'm here for the hitting. This is a fantastic hitting environment. Pitching I can do without.
I would concur with that, and I don't have anything brilliant to add.
Yeah, we're hitting a spot where there's really not a lot of like very specific fun stuff to hit on. It's kind of like, yeah, they are fine and X. So just adding in these updated lineups for the Twins and the Indians. Good. And the Giants, apparently, they're coming out like gangbusters. Steven Duggar, welcome back. I always like laughing at your name. And we're in. I have to run one more crunch. Yeah, Joey Gallo stands out. I assume his ownership ends up being depressed a bit because of the lefty-lefty matchup. Those are sort of the times where I try to take a closer look at him. He's hitting in the heart of the order and a fantastic hitter's park. So I wouldn't mind using him as a one-off option if he's not gaining any sort of ownership. Everybody knows that the Cubs bats are good. They just don't have the same sort of setup, in my opinion, as a group like the Yankees or the Phillies, or they're not as cost effective for me as the Blue Jays.
Yep. I would agree with that as well.
So you mentioned Trevor Cahill earlier.
Indeed, I did.
Heading to the Athletics. A's hosting the Angels. 4.3 run implied total on both sides. It's a 50-50 game. Mike Fiers and Trevor Cahill. You liking Cahill here?
I'm going to Cahill as an SP2.
I get it.
I don't mind it. We have, the A's are now down Matt Olson, who injured his hamate bone, had to have surgery. So it's the bone at the bottom of your wrist, or I don't know what you call that, but if you're looking, it's like right there. So a lot of times batters tend to break it, swinging over when they roll their wrists and hit the knob of the bat, just with the force that they do. It's a 6 to 8 week recovery. All they'll do is go in and remove it. It's kind of one of those bones that if you don't have it, it's not a huge deal. This usually happens to half a dozen batters every year that are prominent, even more that aren't. So it's something that is frustrating if you've already done your drafts and got him, but it doesn't matter for daily fantasy sports. It does leave a hole in their lineup. So we've got new additions here: Robbie Grossman, Jerkson Profar, and then Nick Hundley, which is an afterthought. He's replacing LaCroix. But otherwise, the A's do everything they can to get guys with decent platoon splits in here, but they don't have as many lefties this year as they have in the past. So we have a nice heavy righty lineup here for Cahill. Cahill's showing moments of brilliance. against both lefties and righties, but he's also dealt with some injuries. So that's the hard part. I love Cahill. I don't think he goes more than five and change today, but he's still going to be someone in my plans on this afternoon, on this, the DraftKings main slate. And on the all-day slate, I would not mind getting him just for my SP2 at his current price.
Yeah, if I were playing on DK today, Cahill would be a guy that I'm looking at. On FanDuel, he's not in play. That should not be terribly surprising. But I do like the idea of using him as a cheaper SP2 option. I don't have a ton to say about DraftKings yet. I will be playing both sites once we get through this opening 2-week stretch, but mentally I would die. I think I would die if I tried to play all four and do shows at the same time.
Well, I'm going to be, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to submit lineups and I'm going to get ready for the hockey show, Josh.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to go get a haircut and then temporarily walk away from the computer, and then I'll be back tonight for Live Before Lock, NBA style, me and Fast Eddie.
There we are.
Too many.
So you've got 3 shows today. Impressive.
Yeah.
3 shows.
Surprised it's not more. Hit that like button, everybody. It'd be very helpful. We got a good crew in here right now. A's and Angels bats. Are you getting there at all?
Let's see. Mike Trout, best hitter in the baseball still?
Yeah, he is.
I will be having some Mike Trout. I don't mind Justin Bour, who is now going to be playing full time. He actually got a couple home runs last year in lefty-lefty matchups. That's something we didn't see through his first couple years in the league. Literally, I think he hit his first 40 home runs without getting one off the same-handed pitcher. But he's going to get everyday playing time. He was kind of buried there in Philly after they acquired him for God knows why, and then just kind of kept him on the bench. Zach Cozart should be back and healthy. He was a nice surprise at the beginning of the season for the Angels last year, was kind of punching above his weight class, but he kept it up. So he actually has reasonably good numbers for what I always kind of thought of as a punch and Judy hitter in where did he come from? The Reds. So I think he's okay. But I don't know that I'm going to be doing stacks here.
Ooh.
Fires has, well, he has issues. Adam, sorry, Josh.
You're good.
I do, 99% of my shows with Adam, but his fly balls get him in trouble. But it's a little cooler here now. This game is in the afternoon, so we don't have to worry about the marine layer and all of that. But the marine layer is something you'll hear about, particularly for the West Coast games, where it gets cooler and the air starts blowing in off of the coastline. So Oakland, specifically San Francisco, Seattle are generally the ones that experience that effect pretty heavily. To a lesser extent, the LA teams. But what that means is the balls don't go as far.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind for later, especially this is not like basketball where the late night hammers exist on the West Coast because they play faster and less defense.
Right.
Pitching wins out more often than not in the spring on those West Coast games. So
yeah, it really does. I'm actually getting to quite a bit of the Angels. Justin Bour and Trout in particular are leading the charge. I don't have anything important to say about Mike Trout. If you don't know it already, you should not be playing MLB DFS. But Cole Calhoun in the leadoff spot in a lefty-righty matchup, I think is really appealing. There's the opportunity for additional plate appearances, which rule the roost, in my opinion. So I am getting to the Calhoun, Trout, Justin Bour trio, and you can rotate through, in my opinion, with Andrelton Simmons or Zach Cozart, or you're feeling really crazy, Albert Pujols, who's 600 years old at this point. From the A's, though, I'm not really all that enamored with them.
Concur. There'll be matchups where I will love the A's. This is just not one of them.
I am in the same ballpark as you. Let's talk Dodgers and Marlins. Nope, that's not who plays each other, but their names are next to each other on the sheet. Dodgers hosting the D-backs, 4.1 run implied total for the Dodgers, 3.2 for the D-backs. It's a 60% chance to win for the Dodgers. Hyunjin Ryu taking on Zach Greinke. Both of these guys are sort of in a similar scenario for me as pitchers. I prefer Ryu just because of the Dodgers' increased opportunity to pick up a win, but neither guy is standing out as someone that I'm getting to with any sort of regularity. From a stacking perspective, just not here. It's not that appealing of a game. I'm not getting to the Dodgers. I barely have any Diamondbacks. It's really hard for me to stack up a team with a 3.2 run implied total. So this game is mostly a no-go outside of, one-offs if you want Jock or, well, probably just Jock in my opinion.
I would agree on that one. Just looking up and down. I mean, they've seen Greinke a million times because these teams play each other constantly, but
Yeah.
nobody really excites me there. And then going against Ryu, no.
Yep.
Escobar, but that's really about it.
Escobar season has returned.
It is, and you're hoping for a double. That's what you're hoping for from Escobar. So
yeah, I'm gonna upload my placeholder lineups for right now, and then I'm gonna feel really good about. And by placeholder lineups, I mean my actual lineups. I don't know why I said placeholders. Yeah, I wish I had more to say about some of these games.
Now it's a crappy line.
This 4:00 set of games is not particularly appealing to me. It's just a lot of like murky meh.
So those are the slates I kind of really get into when I have time, especially now that I've started doing this multi-entry stuff. It's really really fun for me to do, and I live down here in the low dollar ranges because on DraftKings that's where the apex predators cannot go below in the $4 and below. So that's where I am. I love the leagues here. When I play on FanDuel, I love their 100-mans for that. But I like the variance. I embrace the variance, and I seem to do well with it. And that's always been the case. This year, I finally learned how to find a better strategy for NBA. And it's like Alex Baker has a bunch of articles on the site talking about play all the slates, disperse your lineups. And it actually works if you are methodical and you don't play a ton one day and a little bit the next and do this and then do that and do this. It works. It's a lot of work, but it allows you to always have a little something that could potentially win out. And I've had some of my best success now on these single game and 2-game slates for NBA. I would have never played them before. Hated them.
Yeah.
But now that we have the great projections from yourself, the ownership projections, phenomenal. And shout out to Fantasy Cruncher. I found a way that makes it work for me. I am not going to win a 5-figure score because I'm not playing in those contests, but I'm winning probably 4 or 5 days a week. I'm winning, which is awesome because it's better for your mindset and it's things are quickly growing. And that's something I hadn't experienced for a while. I was just treading water till I got to the next big hit. So just throwing it out there. A lot of ways to win. Many more to lose, but a lot of ways to win. Have you uploaded? I'm uploading now.
I have uploaded.
All right. There we go.
And
I'm just gonna blindly run my. No, I only have 40 lineups in the all-day slate, so that's no big deal.
Yeah, like we still have Padres Giants, which it's not an appeal. Like 3.9 run implied total and 3.6 run implied total. They are not popular stacks for me. I don't have any of them in double-digit percentages as stacks. I don't really have any interest in Madison Bumgarner. I don't really have any interest in Eric Lauer, even though I feel like I played him more than I played anybody else last year. It's just like an unappealing game. Shout out to the debut of Manny Machado, I guess. But this is not a game for off. It's just kind of it's a game that exists. Do you like any Padres or Giants in any sort of volume?
Let me just double check, but I believe the answer is going to be no. The answer is Longoria, if you want to believe in this past history as a lefty masher.
Yeah.
If he was a one-off, I wouldn't hate it. Brandon Belt is also reasonable against in lefty-lefty matchups, as is Brandon Crawford. So you can get a 4, 5, 6 mini stack if you like that, I wouldn't try to get it, but if I got it, I would not be sad. And then going against Bumgarner, this one's for Seth, Hunter Renfroe.
Okay. Are you getting Danny Lauer as an SP2?
I will have a little bit, I'm sure. I haven't hit the. Well, I'm gonna do a full slate crunch here. We'll see if I land on any. But he's someone I like when he's in the appropriate NL Western stadium. So I like him at home. I'm okay with him in with the Dodgers, and I like him at San Francisco. Yeah. But he is the guy that's just.
What's his salary today on DK? Do you have that in front of you?
Not great. Shit, I do not. Sorry. Oh, actually, I do. He is 5'6", so he'll be on some of my teams.
Yeah, he's fine as an SP2. It's just not. It's not for me with any sort of volume. I know he wasn't popping up a lot for me in my DraftKings crunches last night. That the Longoria Posey piece of that lineup is kind of scary, but lots of lefty bats in there for the Giants, so they could make this rough. I don't really like getting a lot of exposure to teams with sub 4-run implied totals at all. And it's not that I think that makes Lauer better, because I don't think that it does. I think this game just is sort of not on my radar. Oh, Josh Hart out 12 weeks. Have fun with that.
Yeah, the rest of the season there.
How do you feel about this not great Reds team? 4.3 run implied total for the Reds, 4.2 for the Pirates. It's Luis Castillo and Jameson Taillon. It's a very coin flippy game. I don't have any of the Reds as 4-man stacks. I have a little bit of Pittsburgh. That's going to be mostly in the Frazier, Dickerson, Josh Bell trio, rotating through the other guys around that. Hopefully Puig takes nicely to Cincinnati. Maybe he's a big Cincinnati chili guy, but I'm not really getting to the Reds. And this is, again, another matchup where I am not terribly enamored with the hitting.
No, I think you're 100% correct. Taillon is a better pitcher right now than he is a fantasy pitcher, but he's getting there. This is a ballpark downgrade going to Great American Ballpark, and it is, while not an inspiring lineup, the Reds are intriguing. So Joey Votto's on the downward side of his career, but he's still phenomenal. He has power, but he doesn't have home runs. So when you look at that, he gets a lot of doubles. Puig is just, if he's going to play every day, Josh, he should be 20-20, and he could be 30-20 in this ballpark. Should just be amazing. Eugenio Suarez really came on last year.
Shout out to Jake. That was Jake's boy all year last year.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Schebler is outstanding. I just don't want these guys against Taillon. It's just not where I want to be. Any of them are fine as one-offs. They all have nice numbers. Even Jesse Winker is okay, but not the best matchup. And the Great American Ballpark doesn't really get going with offense until the end of April.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. From the Pittsburgh side, I think Luis Castillo is a really, really, really good pitcher. I will be playing him some today, but Pittsburgh doesn't have a ton of strikeouts, which is an issue. The only guy in their starting lineup that has over 20, they've got two. Francisco Cervelli, who is batting fifth, has a 21% strikeout rate, and then Gonzalez, who's their 8-hitter, who doesn't count, but he has 23. Everybody else is like 17, 18, 12 for Frazier. There's not a ton of inherent upside here, and that's what Castillo counts on, because he has about a 25% strikeout rate over the last 2 seasons, and that's where his bread and butter is, because he's equal opportunity. He gets righties just as much as he gets lefties. So to have a lineup like this makes it a little tougher for him to realize his upside.
Okay. Final 4-10 game. One more after this in the 4 o'clock slate. The Minnesota Jakes. Welcome back to the schedule, Minnesota Jakes. Shout out to Jake Hari, who we'll see next week. He's enjoying some vacation right now. We won't see too much of him on the MLB side next week. He is still holding down the NHL content for us. But once we get to the NHL playoffs, we'll bring Jakey back into the fold. You'll get some Josh Jake action in the morning if that was something you guys enjoyed last year. But the Minnesota Jakes, aka the Twins, 3.7 run implied total, taking on the Indians, same thing, 3.7 run implied total. Basically a 50-50 game. Jose Barrios and Corey Kluber. This is a fantastic pitching matchup. Really hard to separate the two. The difference between these two teams is I prefer the Indians' offense a little bit. Well, at least I prefer the best things of the Indians' offense better than I prefer the best things of the Twins' offense. Twins are a little bit more balanced as a lineup right now. They're also running headfirst into Corey Kluber. How do you manage this sort of game? I don't have much from the hitting side. It's really difficult for me to want to prioritize any bats against these two guys. Are you getting to pitching? And is pitching, it Kluber, yes, or Barrios?
They're going to be about the same. It looks like I'm getting about 15 to 17%. I just did a dummy crunch here, so I haven't set many parameters. So I'm getting them a little bit, and I don't mind that at all. Kluber is, obviously a phenomenal pitcher. There have been a few concerns here and there with him recently, a little bit of the durability issues. So that always makes me nervous when that starts to happen, Josh, because frankly, the human body is not designed to throw things 90 miles an hour. No. It's just not. And all it takes is one little thing to be wonky, and then you compensate and you create something else that becomes an issue. So that makes me a little bit nervous. That said, I don't want anybody against Kluber. I don't see it. Agreed. Now, I think we're going to talk a lot throughout the season about Nelson Cruz and CJ Cron when they are going against lefties.
Yeah, I was going to say Nelson Cruz against Corey Kluber is not that spot.
No, and Cruz, from a ratio perspective or proportionally, hits almost as many of his home runs off of righties as he does lefties over the last few years. He's just a phenomenal hitter. He doesn't have a glove because literally he doesn't get to play in the field like ever. I think he did once last year.
Yeah.
But in any event, that's something you'll want to keep an eye on today. No, if Cruncher puts something in there, I'll take it, but I won't even set these guys as a potential stack. So if it's a one-off.
Yeah, I don't. It's just not for me. Too low of a total. Pitching's too good, and I'd be happy with any sort of amount of Barrios or Kluber that I got. I actually prefer Barrios a little bit more than Kluber.
Yeah. When we talk about Cleveland, Leonis Martin batting leadoff, yay! How's that for excitement? But Ramirez hurt himself. I think he fouled the ball off his ankle or a toe or foot or something, and they were a little worried he wasn't going to make this start, so he's a little bit dinged up. Santana is okay. Naquin, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to keep swinging from his heels. So I really don't want him. Jake Bauers, pretty much the same story. So I don't really want any of these guys. Oh, good God, is that Brad Miller music I hear? Hello, Brad Miller. I did not realize you were batting eighth for Cleveland today. Shout out to Brad Miller, former Mariner, former Tampa Bay Devil Ray. Yeah, I want none of them.
Nope, I agree. The final game, and we're not really putting a lot of weight into it now. Weather, a major problem. The 4:15 start for Royals White Sox. Brad Keller taking on Carlos Rodon. It's essentially a 50-50 flip. 4.3 run implied total. If this was in Chicago, might be a little bit more appealing from an offensive perspective. We watched the White Sox strike out more than me, I don't know, trying to figure out a joke in this spot. They just couldn't stop swinging and missing last year. Brad Keller and Rodon, either of those guys standing out? Do you like Rodon, or do you like Brad Keller as an SP2?
All right, so here's the thing about Keller, and this is going to be this is a nice little example as we sort of wrap this up. I will be playing Keller as an SP2. I also, if you read the free article on the Awesemo front page, the DFS Spotlight Hitters and Stacks column, I wrote up the Chicago White Sox. Baseball is incredibly fickle. Weird stuff happens. Yeah. I don't think as many people are going to go to the White Sox. Let me rephrase that. The smart people are not going to really be going to the White Sox. The people that are looking at the higher implied run total are going to get there. Keller was started out for the first half of last year from the bullpen. and then he moved more or less full-time right around the All-Star break to becoming a starter. So his shorter stints helped him with his ratios a little bit more, because generally when you pitch less, you do better. Just kind of how it works, which is why you see relievers with better numbers than starters. So, but it's his price and the fact that I'm playing two pitchers is why I need to get to him here, Josh. But his walk rate, his strikeout rate, not really awe-inspiring. He's just kind of a pitcher for me. On the other side, though, we've got some intriguing power here, and that's the big thing. So when it comes down to the White Sox, they, as you just said, they swing and miss a boatload, but a swinging strike rate of, what is it, about, where is it?
600% last year, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood, right?
Well, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, for them, yes. I was, what did I screw up my filters here? Anyway, off the top of my head, I thought he had about a 6% swinging strike rate, which is super duper. Oh, there we go. He's 9% swinging strike rate, 16% K rate. So for Keller, that plays right into the White Sox hands. Yoan Moncada strikes out a third of the time, 1 in 3. Daniel Palka, 1 in 3. That's just crazy. And then you got Anderson and McCann and Garcia.
I mean, McCann has no problem whiffing as well.
Yeah, so that them getting a player or a guy that does a little bit more with walks and a little bit less with strikeouts, that's a recipe for extended innings. Yep. And then you've got Eloy Jimenez, who is making his opening debut here. And he's going to be a potential Rookie of the Year candidate. So yeah. I'm playing both sides of this because, frankly, the White Sox can swing and miss against this guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm obviously not getting to much Keller or Rodon on FanDuel on a single pitcher site. That should not be terribly surprising. And I've limited the amount I can get of the bats. So I have like 1 or 2% of both sides because I don't necessarily have a problem with them as some low priced stacking. I just can't trust the weather right now. So there's not a lot for me to talk about.
Yep. Sorry for my dog there. We had go through the closets for spring cleaning and had a bunch of donation stuff that people were picking up. So she, if you could hear her barking, not as good as your yard workers yesterday, though.
Yeah, they did a great job in my yard, though. I'll say that much.
Oh, they were doing your yard?
I didn't know that at first.
Oh, okay. That would explain why it sounded so close and you couldn't tell where it was coming from.
Right. Guys, we are here. Baseball is on right now somewhere.
We're not going to do the last game?
Oh, Mariners, Red Sox?
It's the Mariners, my other team, man.
Have at it. They're not a part of anything for me.
Get my little Mariners hat on here.
2.9 run implied total for the Mariners. That's a fantastic start. 4.2 for the Red Sox. It's a 65% chance to win. Marco Gonzalez going for Seattle. Chris Sale going for Boston. I'm going to let you know right now, don't really like the Mariners bats here.
Play Chris Sale?
Yeah. Can I get Griffey, Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez? That's probably what they need right now because I don't think Tim Beckham and D. Gordon are going to get it done.
No, it's this is definitely a play Sale if you have that ability. And then from Boston, Gonzalez is actually a sneaky good pitcher thus far. He survived that first game in Japan, so this is actually going to be his second start the season. He ended up getting a quality start. I think they ended up staying ahead that whole game, so he got the win as well. But he is someone that has done quite nicely against both lefties and righties. Doesn't get the strikeouts just yet from the lefties that we would expect from a southpaw, but he's really been taking it to opposite-handed hitting. Granted, young career, he doesn't have a huge track record. What are these sample sizes? We're looking at 700 plate appearances, so not a ton, but he is somewhat interesting. But this Boston lineup is never ending. I mean, their first 6 guys are just outstanding. Don't sleep on Moreland, who is actually really, really good in lefty-lefty situations. And for whatever reasons, Rafael Devers, nobody seems to like him, Josh, ever.
I love him when he faces righties, at least.
Yeah. So there we are. I had to talk about the Mariners. It is opening day.
Understood.
Did go to the very first Mariner game ever, Josh. 1977. Long time ago.
Really? 77? Is that what it was?
Yeah. It was, went with my dad. I was like 6 years old.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. We went, we lived about 150 miles away.
That's not bad.
And he was going over with three of his buddies from work, and they were driving our family car, which was a 1960 whatever VW Bug, and one of their buddies got sick. So the other two guys were like, "Hey, why don't we take your kid?" Because I was small, and then whoever was sitting in the back seat got more room with me. So that's how I ended up going. They came and picked me up out of school, and there we went.
I can't believe we are here. Baseball season is back. Feels like just yesterday that I was doing my first show with this stranger named Jake. Never talked to him before. We just show up and do a show about baseball. And now we are a very, very different site. Massively bigger. We got 800 and something people here at our peak. 867 at noon on opening day on a Thursday. So greatly appreciate all of you guys joining us. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Live Before Lock is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. Come check it out. We're going to have a ton of baseball content every day. We're going to still have a ton of basketball content coming up through the playoffs. You get a lot of Fast Eddie on Live Before Locks. You'll get Fast Eddie and me for probably the final time tonight. We'll still have the deeper dive rather at 5 o'clock tonight. Adam and Lofty going through all the NBA games, but we do have a schedule posted in our premium Slack chat. If you want to check that out, you just type !schedule and it will take you to it. And you can just see we're running a ton of stuff. So bear with us if stuff feels a little wonky through next Sunday. It's because we're managing all three of the major sports at the exact same time, and you end up keeping a lot of balls in the air. But after that Sunday, we will be very focused. We will still have all the content for hockey and NBA throughout the playoffs, but we will put baseball in our crosshairs, and you will be getting a ton of baseball content from us. Emac, do you have anything else?
Robinson Cano home run. Damn it.
Really?
Yep.
There it is.
Baseball's back.
Baseball's back. There you go, Bobby. Bobby Cano. Yard work. I hope I have it. Let's see. How much Cano do I have? It's gonna be really exciting when the answer ends up being 0. 1%. He's in 2 lineups. There we go, Bobby. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you guys doing that. Come check out all the great content. Live Before Lock. One big word. 50% off any package, including Fantasy Cruncher. For myself and Emac, thank you for joining us. Baseball is back, but we are gone. Bye.